Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. For today, we're going to be jumping into another session of Epic 7 Now. Today, got another tier list for you guys. We're going to be continuing our little tier list series here. Yesterday, we covered all of the 5-star selectors that you can use for the RGB ticket inside of the current Origin Update event. And if you're unfamiliar with the Origin Update event and where to claim these tickets, well, today we're going to be talking about the artifacts that you can get. So on the event tab on the left side of your screen, you can go over here to the Carrot Exchange tab, and you can farm 4 golden carrots to redeem for a 5-star Covenant Selector, which we talked about yesterday. Check this video out after this one if you haven't seen it yet and you haven't made your decision. And today we're going to cover the 5-star artifact selector. So there are, as you can see here, a bunch of exceptions to which artifacts can and cannot be claimed, which we'll talk about now. So yeah, let's jump right into this tier list here. Starting off, we have all the unavailable artifacts in the game, and honestly there are quite a few unavailable ones. Everything from the last 6 months units that are available. For example, the current Fire Krau's artifact, you can't get that there. Fene's artifact, Proof of Love, is unavailable, and what's his face, Schneel's artifact, Homage to Tarman, also is not available. So those 3 you cannot get. It's alright, because honestly, Homage to Tarman is not that great, and Proof of Love is really only used on Fene if you use her in PvP situations. Thorn the Blue Rose you can still get right now. It's a current rate up banner for Fire Krau, so if you want it, do snag it. It's pretty good for him. The rest of the artifacts over here are just ones that you can get through side story events, things that you can get like Magic for Friends and Sword of Cycling Seasons by beating the story and certain aspects of it. And then the rest of this stuff are either guild shop artifacts, like the rest of these things in the top row here, or all seasonal and collab artifacts, and there are quite a few of them. So those will not actually be ranked here in terms of the tier list, but just keep in mind that when I make this tier list, it's going to be also kind of geared towards more PvP oriented play. There are going to be many artifacts here that I'm going to talk about that have PvE applications too, and that does actually affect their overall rankings. If they are useful in both PvP and PvE, they're going to get a higher ranking, right? So on and so forth. So we won't leave anything out here. So let's get started. With the tiers, we're going to break them down into must-own, which are the ones that I think every account needs to have copies of. They're super strong, super versatile, and essentially the best in class for, whatever units that they're meant to be on. Next up, we have Very Strong. The Very Strong tier is differentiated from the Strong tier. We'll talk about both these here. Very Strong are things that are very applicable, widespread, has PvP and PvE applications usually, and are just very impactful to the matches that they're brought into. Strong means that they're okay, they're like not terrible, they're just better options out there, right? Like the must-own Very Strong categories are just better than the options here in the Strong. They are just nice to have, and you'll eventually want to have these. Like most of my units have artifacts that are in this category here, but just keep in mind that they're not going to be super widespread use, and there are better options available. When it comes to the niche category, these are things that like maybe 1 or 2 units are going to use, but even then I'm still going to put them here. There are some really strong artifacts out there, for example like Eligos's artifact, that is super good, but really mostly just for him, right? There's no real other unit that really uses it, so that's what the niche category is for here. And then the last one is just don't. You can get these artifacts through random summons, and 5-star artifacts can pop up even on rate up banners, so you have a 50-50 chance of getting the rate up artifact or a random artifact, and eventually after playing for many months and years, you will hopefully manage to snag pretty much everything on this list. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So starting off with the must-own category here, we're gonna have Sigurd Scythe. This was already here from tier list past, has always pretty much been a must-own artifact for every account, but then they decided to buff it, so it is even better now. You don't have to be below 50% health to get that extra attack boost. You have a flat attack boost, and when you're below 50% health, you get an extra boost to your attack. Sigurd's Scythe just became a lot more consistent and super strong. So definitely a must own, and if you have copies of this, please keep them separate and try not to merge them all together. You're going to find out very quickly that you're going to have maybe 2, 3, 4 warriors that want to have Sigurd's Scythe, namely things like Bystander Hua-Young, for example, Fire Ravi, ML Bologna. There's so many options out there. Even ML Ken would want a Sigurd Scythe, right? So do keep multiple copies of this, for it is very, very good. Next up in the must-own category, it might be surprising to some of you, but Bloodstone. I find myself wanting this artifact a lot, actually, for PvE content especially. This is one of the few PvE artifacts that are like almost essential to things like, you know, your Earth expeditions and such, even really good in Nightmare Labyrinth. So Bloodstone, fantastic option. If you have a copy of it, don't get more. You really only need like 1 copy of Bloodstone for your account. You can always swap it back and forth between units if you want to. There are some PvP applications for Bloodstone as well, really good for healing up your team with damage dealing rangers. So yeah, pretty decent artifact in PvP, very, very strong in PvE. Just get 1 copy. You only need 1. It's very good as a standalone, right? In all my years of playing, I've only gotten 2 copies of Bloodstone from randomly pulling, and yeah, I was a dummy in my first year playing, and I kind of merged them together, so technically only have 1 copy now, and it sucks. Wish I had 2, but anyway, it's really good. Alright, next up we have Bastion of Perlucia. That's right, Bastion here. If you're a slower player, if you're playing in PvP, if you're doing Guild Wars or even Guild War defenses, building arena defenses and such, right? Bastion of Perlucia is such a powerful artifact for knights. Ever since it got buffed, it is incredible. It gives a barrier and immunity to the knight that's wearing it and to the backline unit, and the barrier strength is proportional to your frontline unit's HP. So if you have a really bulky frontline tank, like 30k health or whatever, it takes a huge percentage of that HP and gives it as a barrier to the backline unit. It's just really good because it has barrier and immunity at the same time. Usually when opponents are stripping your buffs, immunity is one of the last buffs to get stripped, right? So at the start of the match, if they strip a buff off of your units, they're stripping the barrier and not the immunity itself. So that's what makes Bastion so powerful. You can keep immunity up on your backline unit and protect them, right, from those harmful effects. Can help win Guild War defenses, like, right, if you have an ambitious Tywin on a defense team and you have like a BBK or a Genoa in the backline that can't be controlled, you're probably gonna get a few green shields here and there. So yeah, very, very strong in that regard. But surprisingly, that is pretty much it in my list of like must-own artifacts here. It's a small list, I know, but you can argue that some of the ones in very strong can be put up here. I'll talk about why I didn't and why some of the things have shifted as we move on. So let's go to the very strong tier here, starting off with, sadly, Elbrus Ritual Sword. I know, how did this go from a must-own artifact down to a very strong artifact? Well, counterattacks, still very good, but the reason why it got bumped down is because there's not as many relevant counter units right now. Navy Captain Landy fell off, right? Abyssal Yufine kind of fell off, and honestly, all other counter units just died a mort, so the Great Mortelix exists. That's why Elbrus Ritual Sword got bumped down a tier. That's how powerful Mort is. Literally nerfed an artifact just by existing. So rest in peace, Elbrus Ritual Sword. Still really good though, especially on like defense teams and such. You want to put as much RNG onto your defense teams as possible, so Elbrus Ritual Sword sometimes can come in clutch and surprise your opponent, catch them off guard, right? Bellion, for example, is a really good user of Elbrus Ritual Sword. People don't really know what Bellions are on because there's so many different artifacts that are out there that people use for her, but that's just a quick example. Of course, Mort has the skill built into his kit and such. A lot more units now have this effect built into their kits, which is also why I kind of got bumped down a little bit. Next up, Golden Rose, also in the must-own category in the previous tier list, but got bumped down because Sigurd's Scythe got buffed, and it's just kind of a better Golden Rose nowadays, right? Sigurd's Scythe has a blanket, damage buff effect. Golden Rose only gives you that damage buff if you're above 50% health. Meanwhile, Sigurd's Scythe, when you fall below 50% health, you do get the ability to regain health when you do damage, and your damage goes up. Meanwhile, Golden Rose here, you just regain health. You lose the extra damage that you would deal if you're below 50% health. So yeah, while it is, Golden Rose is good for HP scalers, right? So it's Sigurd's Scythe, because even HP scalers use their attack stat. So Golden Rose, kind of an inferior Sigurd's Scythe nowadays, but still, again, the super good artifact. If you have like tons of Sigurd's Scythes and you're like, I don't really need any more, and you're looking for a decent bruiser artifact, Golden Rose is not bad at all. Okay, next up we have Abyssal Crown. Yeah, Abyssal Crown, really good control artifact here, used on things like Fire, Politis, Harsetti especially, really strong for defense teams. If you have Harsetti on Abyssal Crown, you can pretty much decimate people if you catch them off guard, right? Stun a bunch of things with your AoE attacks. It's really good. The reason I didn't put it in the must-own category is because it is still kind of a niche artifact in terms of like where to use it. You don't really see it used in RTA all that much. Units like Solitaria can definitely take advantage of it as well. Things like Fire Politis, as I mentioned, right? But yeah, I don't see it being so widespread that it's a must-own, but it is a super incredibly strong artifact. Has always been, actually, ever since it got released with the game. So yeah, Silverblade Armintha can use it very well. I guess Fire Armintha can use it too. But yeah, super good. Stuns, just control teams, fantastic. Next up is Doctor's Bag. We got some healing artifacts here. So Doctor's Bag is incredibly good because of the fact that you can cleanse an extra debuff when you use your non-attack skill every 3 turns. So Doctor's Bag is used on things like Bunny Dom. It is used on several other units that have good turn cycling, have good like healing capabilities, like in general, like they have decent healing capabilities, or ones that really don't. Doctor's Bag allows you to heal a little bit too, which is nice, but the extra cleanse is the main thing, right? So certain units can only cleanse like 1 debuff off of your team, maybe 2. Doctor's Bag allows you to cleanse more, which means you'll be debuff free, and then you can do all the shenanigans that you want to. So Doctor's Bag definitely deserves a spot up here. Next up is, oh boy, Renewed Will. This is Fenris's artifact, and boy oh boy, is this thing good. I regret not getting this when it first came out through the powder shop, and I'm probably using my own personal selector on this, but that's because I just don't have it. So Renewed Will is good because it allows rangers that open with an AoE skill to have a chance to push up their team by a certain amount of combat readiness. So the reason why it's in the very strong and not like must own is because you have to plus 30 this for it to really work and be super consistent. It is incredibly good in cleave and aggro teams. Units like Bryceria and now the buffed Fire Litica can use this very well. Yeah, Renewed Will definitely deserves a space up here because it is kind of like changing the way that people run like cleave and aggro teams. It makes certain units that used to not be good openers suddenly super viable as openers. So that's why it's up here. It's very impactful on the meta. Next up we have Wind Rider. You can argue Wind Rider goes in the must-own for thieves and their damage, but I feel like there's some pretty decent thief artifacts at like 4 stars as well, right? So yeah, like Moonlight Dreamblade's decent. So Wind Rider is okay. It's really good in general. I have 1 at plus 27 and I have 2 at plus 15. It is very strong. One of the best thief artifacts in the game right now. Genoa uses it very well. Midnight God Lilius uses it very well. Yeah, Wind Rider is insane. It also allows your user to go into stealth when they kill a unit on the opponent's side, and when they do, their next attack gets powered up by an extreme amount of attack. So Wind Rider is basically a snowball effect. You get to protect yourself, shroud yourself in stealth, and then keep killing, and the next turn you kill, keep that stealth up, and you get more damage on the next hit, and then you go on and on and on until you win. So yeah, Wind Rider, super good, deserving of this very strong spot. You can argue it goes up here, but again, I'm throwing it at the very strong category for now. Next up is RNL. I think RNL is a very versatile artifact. Just being able to take extra turns for free is insane value, especially in PvP. That's one of the reasons Ron is so strong in RTA, is because he can just S2, S3 proc RNL, do an S1 like turn cycle for free. One thing people overlook is that, yes, you take extra turns to deal extra damage, but RNL allows you to turn cycle for free. You have a chance to just get an extra turn after your turn. And it is incredible because it reduces your cooldown by a turn because you just ended your previous turn, which means you're going to go through your skills like crazy. This is why Rons will like S2, S3, S1, next turn, S2, S3 again. Like, it's just crazy cycling, right? That's why it deserves a space up here. It's a very versatile artifact too. You can pretty much slap this on any thief and it's good. I've seen Genoa's on RNL and it's honestly disgusting and devastating, but at the same time I'm quite impressed that someone has that much evil in them to think of something like that. So yeah, RNL definitely deserves to be up here. Next up, for another thief artifact, Shepherd of the Hollow. Shepherd is a really strong evasion artifact. The less HP you have, the more damage you deal. Super good for units like Kayron, BBK, right? Even tankier like D-gen units such as Arbiter Vildred and stuff, you build them tanky that way. Remnant Violet, really good for him as well there too. So yeah, Shepherd, fantastic stuff. You can even put it on things like Light Aiden, and it works really well in PvP too. So definitely very versatile. A lot of units can use this. Strong artifact. Next up is Holy Sacrifice, and I'll just kind of throw Secret Art Storm Sword here as well. The reason why both of these are here in the very strong category, and not really like must own, even though Holy Sacrifice is so good for like buffed Crow right now, the Ice Crow who got buffed, and the Great Mortelix, right? Super good for them. But it needs to have a plus 30 to be consistent. If you don't have this at max limit break, like plus 30 enhancement, you don't have a 100% chance to revive, and that sucks. So if you're like one copy away, grab yourself the Holy Sacrifice, make it consistent, guys. Yeah, it'll be really good. But if you don't have this artifact, would I recommend you grabbing one right now? Not necessarily, you're not in a huge rush. If at plus 15 you only have a 75% chance to revive after you get killed by your opponent, so is that really worth it? Is that really worth not having an artifact for the entire game? Don't know. Holy Sacrifice, yeah, that's why it's over here in the very strong category. Super impactful, but needs plus 30. Same thing with Secret Art Storm Sword. Celine's artifact, pretty much only exclusively used for Celine. I guess you could use it on things like Spirit Eye Celine and other units as well nowadays. Spirit Eye Celine can work really well with this if you build it with high res and use as a full team cleanser nowadays. So yeah, do keep that in mind. But yeah, this artifact, not bad. But again, for it to be consistent, to get that attack buff procced on you, you kind of need the plus 30. Otherwise, it's not a 100% chance. So that's why it's in the very strong. If you're like one copy away, grab this. It's good. I just can't put myself to put it up here in the must own, even though Celine is really strong, right? And Mort is really strong. Yeah, both of these incredibly good artifacts. Alright, but that's pretty much it for... Oh, sorry, no, that's not it. Next up, last one, Uberius' Tooth here. Yeah, threw this in the very strong category. This thing has skyrocketed up, right, in the ranks recently. Mostly because Uberius' Tooth and extra splash damage has been super prevalent in the meta right now. Immortality and splash damage have been two very key defining things in the last couple of seasons. So Uberius' Tooth is really good on units like Amiki, for example. And Amiki is a very good counter cleave unit. Really good unit in general to just stifle this current fire meta where so many fire units are running amok, mostly led by Fire Flan, and but yeah, she's incredibly good with this, Amiki is. So Uberius' Tooth definitely deserves a space up here in the very strong category. Ideally, you do get it like plus 30 to be super consistent. Is it usable not plus 30? Yes, it very much is. You might have a lower chance to proc it, but over the course of the match, you're going to have multiple attempts to proc it. It's not something like Celine's artifact where you pretty much have to like proc it turn one, or you're probably not really procking it again. Maybe you'll proc it one or two more times if the fight goes on a little bit longer, but the first proc is the most important one. Holy Sacrifice too. Holy Sacrifice is a one and done thing, so you only have one chance. This needs to be 100% or else. So yeah, that's the difference between Uberius' Tooth and those two over here. Alright, but that's the very strong category. Next up we have the kind of strong. They're still good, they're still usable, still kind of generic artifacts, just not as good as the ones like up here, right? So Song of the Stars, fall from grace, guys. It used to be in the must-own category, now it's fallen to strong. Assyria used to be a really good user of Song of the Stars, but then they started making a lot of bosses that just kind of, you know, just don't really... They cap the amount of debuffs that they can have on them. So yeah, Song of the Stars just not as good nowadays. Target debuff is fine. It's really good for extra damage. Couples really well with defense breaks. If you have a copy, good, because it's very, very useful. Rangers in PvE though have more so like not really been seen. as much. You have a lot more users, a lot more units nowadays that can just defense break and stuff, and things that don't require a ranger like Assyria as much as we used to. Like Fire Ken and Brieg, for example, super incredibly strong. You have self-sufficient DPS units and stuff too nowadays, like Fene, for example, that do really well, and you can't really use Song of the Stars in those types of situations. Having to commit this artifact to a ranger really hinders some team compositions out there, which is why it's kind of fallen lately. Next up though, we have Rise of a Monarch. This is good, really good. You could technically call it niche, but I think it's really strong because it is basically Fallen Cecilia's passive of giving a barrier to the lowest HP unit on your side of the field. It's exclusive to knights, but Empyrean Ilanov is like the best user of this right now, and boy oh boy is she good because she turn cycles so quickly. Rise of a Monarch, super strong artifact, saved my butt so many times. If you don't have one, get yourself one. If you have like all this stuff up here and you really don't want any dupes, get yourself a Rise of a Monarch. It is very nice, trust me. Put on Empyrean Ilanov, it's life-changing. Alright, next up we have a bunch of healing artifacts. I'll group them together. Rod of Amaryllis, Celestine, Stella Harpa, and Touch of Rekos. So these 4 artifacts here, Touch of Rekos, Celestine, and Rod of Amaryllis are healing artifacts. We'll put it this way. And Stella Harpa is a cleansing artifact. So you have a chance to cleanse whenever you're hit, and it's not limited to once per turn, which is really, really good. If you get lucky, you can cleanse a ton of debuffs this way. But yeah, Rod and Celestine and Touch of Rekos, all just really good sustaining artifacts, really good for PvE content. Even in PvP, like DN runs like Rod of Amaryllis sometimes. Celestine is decent on any Soul Weaver that just relies on attacking more often than debuff, so things like Dragon King Sharoon or Earth Sharoon can be a really good user of Celestine to heal. Even Blood Moon Haste, Celestine is super good on him. Touch of Rekos, a little bit less used in PvP, but really, really good in PvE content, especially challenge modes and things like Hall of Trials and such. So definitely a good pickup, especially again if you have a lot of the other artifacts up here and you don't have a Touch of Rekos, can definitely save your butt at times. Next up, we have a Thief artifact, Double-Edged Crescent. It's down here because it's kind of a worse Shepherd of the Hollow. Shepherd of the Hollow gives you a lot more damage the less health you have. Double-Edged Crescent doesn't really do that. It does give you a chance to counterattack, but it is a random, like, it's a low chance to counterattack. It's alright. It's not as good as a full counter set, but it can work in tandem with the counter set. It's just that RNG's RNG, and countering, remember what we said about Mort? You remember how Mort destroyed Elber's Ritual Sword? Yeah, so Double-Edged Crescent definitely down here, not in the very strong category, but it's still pretty decent. Moving on though, speaking of pretty strong stuff for thieves, Alexa's Basket, guys. Super good with the attack buff or greater attack buff, right? Greater attack buff is absolutely insane. I've seen BBKs rock this. Obviously, you have your Arbiter Vildrids using this thing. Yeah, Alexa's Basket, super good for just throwing out a ton of damage for free. You just have a chance for free every time you take a turn to get an attack buff or a greater attack buff, and the chances were buffed too, so now you have a really good chance to get either one of those, right? Solid stuff. Alright, next up we have Merciless Glutton. Gonna be the last artifact here in the strong category. Merciless Glutton is just really good because it's a bridge artifact. It increases damage that you deal, but when you finish off your opponent, you actually get to push up your team. It's combat readiness. So that's really strong. So if you have a unit that pushes up your team, your DPS goes, your DPS kills somebody on the other side, boom, you're pushing up your team again. Snowball effect. Congrats, you've now successfully cleaved or had an aggro team, right? So that's Merciless Glutton, very solid, highly recommend. Alright, so next up we have the niche category. This is going to be, again, units that, like, 1 or 2 of them would be using these artifacts, or they're just kind of underwhelming, but they still have use. I think the best artifact to showcase niche is just Durandal. Durandal is such a weird artifact, because you push up combat readiness when you get hit. Fantastic stuff. And then when you're below a certain threshold of health, you get extra combat readiness when you're hit. So it punishes your opponent for hitting you, but you also have to be able to endure those hits. So tanky units like Dark Corvus, I really like it on Lionheart Sirmia, for example. They're really good users of this. Lionheart Sirmia already pushes herself up, and if you're getting hit and you're under the threshold for Durandal, maybe you're getting hit twice for an extra attack, which is what procs the Lionheart's passive anyway, you're jumping up over 50% combat readiness to go and smack down your opponent equipment, right, with an S3. So yeah, Durandal, super fun, super niche, not super meta, okay? Next up, we have some damage artifacts. So Little Queen's Huge Crown, pretty much only used on Arunca, so keep that in mind. Broken Will of the Priest can be used on Fire Charlotte. Fire Charlotte's not really meta right now, but it is good on any damage-dealing knight. So you can use it on like Brieg and such as well if you really want to. Mature Sunglasses is another option, but that was a limited artifact over here. It does reduce damage, which makes your unit a bit tankier. Broken Will of the Priest doesn't, but it allows you to penetrate defense on AoE hits, which is something I think people overlook. A lot of knights, when they deal damage, though, they do just end up penetrating defense, like Blue Crow, Fire Crow, Last Rider Crow, Yolha, things like that. But yeah, Broken Will of the Priest, still really decent, but not like strong at all, but just not, I also wouldn't say I don't recommend it. It's not terrible, right? Next up, Alensinox's Wrath. You can use this on any unit that pretty much has extra attacks that can benefit from extra crit rate, so like Alencia. Alencia does have better artifacts, though, that you can use on her, but this is not bad for gearing a very tanky Alencia. You don't have to build as much crit rate, which is good. Speaking of not building crit rate, Blackhand the Goddess and Manic of Control also fit in here with Alensinox's Wrath, because this allows you to build units super fast and not have to have as much crit rate. So Blackhand the Goddess lets you start with a bunch of crit rate, and it decreases with every hit that you do. It doesn't matter, because really, if you're cleaving with something like this, you can build a Tomoka that's like 315 plus speed and have this on her, because you don't need 100% crit rate, right? You can have like 80 something crit rate, slap Blackhand the Goddess on her, and boom, invest everything else in the speed. Now you have a speed demon Tomoka that's going to destroy everything. Super. Next up, we have Manic of Control. So same thing, the unit you would use this on typically is Last Piece Corinne. You would put this on her, reduce the amount of crit rate that's needed for her to, like, you know, get 100% crit. You can have like 8 for mine. It's like 86% crit rate on mine. So yeah, I have her at like 300 speed. Easy to reach if you don't have to build crit rate, because crit rate and speed together is an atrocious combination and really difficult to achieve. So there you go. Alright, next up we have Spear of a New Dawn, pretty much only used on Earth Senya, so yep, that's niche. An offer you can't refuse, Eligos' artifact, pretty much used for Eligos exclusively. Really good, very strong artifact, by the way, because Eligos is super relevant right now. Senya not so much, but Eligos, really relevant, good artifact. If you have Eligos and you don't have an offer you can't refuse, and you want to use Eligos, consider this for Eligos. There are alternatives. You can use like Symbol of Unity from the guild shop, but hey, this has a chance to push up your team with combat readiness. It's a pretty good bridge artifact, right? Consider that. Speaking of bridge artifacts, we have Sword of Summer Twilight. It's really strong for AoE hits, penetrates defense. It's like Vildred's artifact, right? But the good thing about it is that the Sword of Summer Twilight is also able to push up your team whenever you kill somebody. So yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Next up, Sacred Tree Branch also pushes up combat readiness for Soul Weavers. Same thing with Idol's Cheer. Sacred Tree Branch requires you to attack. As long as you attack with any skill, it doesn't have to be your S1. You'll push up yourself and the high stack teammate by 10%. So pretty good for turn cycling, especially for slower teams. Good on Dragon King Sharoon and Earth Sharoon, for example. Idol's Cheer is normally used in PvE, but PvP you'll sometimes see units with Idol's Cheer. It really screws people up when there is a Soul Weaver that they're trying to focus down and it's on Idol's Cheer and it's just pushing up their DPS's combat readiness by an extraordinary pace, and then you get smacked down before you can kill the Soul Weaver. So yeah, Idol's Cheer can go on pretty much anybody, preferably a tankier Soul Weaver that people want to kill as a high priority target. Very nice for those types of situations. Also really good on Rowana. If you put this on Rowana and you're fighting against something like a Solitaria who can't help but AoE, you're doing pretty good. You're going to be pushing up your team quite a bit. It's nice. Alright, next up we have Shimadra's Staff. Extra effect resistance for the team, extra healing for the team. So this is good on Maid Chloe, and pretty much just Maid Chloe. Spear Purification. This is pretty much used right now on ML Peyra. By many people, but Spear Purification also pretty useful. This is Teyu's artifact. It is also useful for other units like ML Kawazu as well, that you can use as a tech. Alabastron, really decent debuffing artifact, mostly for PvE content, I'd say. No one really uses this in PvP. You don't really use mages to debuff your opponent, and if you do, you're probably just soul burning your mage for their guaranteed ignore res debuffs instead of trying to land Alabastron's debuffs. So yeah, this is not bad. Oh, sorry, this is a thief artifact. Yeah, never mind. It's not mage. So forget what I said. Yeah, thieves have good debuffs already. Mostly use this on like fire haste and stuff for PvE. So it's still niche, still good. No, I'm not gonna say don't get it ever, but not the widest of applications. Same thing with the eclectic elegiac candle. I keep butchering this name, but this candle artifact right here, Noctwell's artifact, really solid, but not really used super widely. The good thing is you can defense break on AoE attacks, which means that if you're opening with something like, let's say, Fire Litica, you can defense break your opponent's team. You have a chance to defense break it. It's a pretty low % chance to defense break, but it's not terrible. I'd say it's okay. So it's in the niche category, because any openers that want an AoE defense break can definitely use this. Alright, next up we have Ancient Dragon's Legacy. Still niche. Fire Lily is so much better than she once was before her buff. So yeah, now she's pretty solid, and she is a pretty good user of Ancient Dragon's Legacy. Does give that crit damage buff, which you don't really care all too much about. Is mostly for the cooldown reduction for your team. So Lua is kind of out of the meta right now, and Fire Lilius has some application. So I'll say it's pretty good. It's pretty niche, but pretty solid at what it does. Dark Bloodkeeper, also in the niche category, is his Genoa's artifact. You could use it on Genoa, but he's better on Wind Rider. I like this on Midnight Galililius. Yes, you can argue Wind Rider is better, but this does give you a little bit of attack. It just also gives you, when you use a non-attack skill, a very chunky barrier that scales off your attack stat. So Midnight Galililius can just sit there with her damage limit buff and just never die, and it's insane. So yeah, Dark Bloodkeeper, very cool niche applications to keep in mind for PvP scenarios. Spatio-temporal fan, same thing. This is Lua's artifact. Allows you to stealth the highest attack unit, I believe, on your team when you use a non-attack skill on a ranger. So this is really strong. ML Politis can use it very well. Obviously, Lua can too. But yeah, Heli and Lua and stuff. Anyone that does that kind of shenanigans can definitely make use of Spatio-temporal fan. And very hard for your opponent to counter too. If they're not like prepared for your DPS to stealth, if they're trying to kill your DPS unit, well, they're going to be out of luck because of this. Next up we have Beguiling Wings. Very good artifact, just boost your resistance of some units. So that's why that's here. Bird's Eye View, you can start with souls. You have a chance to get more souls if you use Soul Burn, but you're pretty much using it just because you can start off with souls. It's like a book, but on Tagahel's Ancient Book, but on Soul Weavers. So it's not bad. Can't be bad. Unseen Observer, if you use a non-attack skill on a ranger, you get some souls too. So again, souls, not bad. Alright, Tagahel's Ancient Book is like the best artifact in the game for a reason. Etika Scepter also is pretty niche, but has good uses on certain mages. You can use on like Researcher Carrot, for example, in the current burn meta. It's not bad for return cycling for S3. Angel of Light Angelica, also fantastic unit to have with the Etika Scepter here. So yeah, allows you to return cycle her skills really quickly, and you can actually use Angelica as kind of a counter unit to stuff like Harsetti and stuff too. So do keep that in mind. Next up, Bloody Rose. Bloody Rose can be put on Zeo to make him, if you have an effectiveness build, it allows him to get like a free 60% effectiveness or something. It's absolutely insane. And you have a chance to put Vampiric Touch on the opponent too, which allows your teammates to heal. So yeah, pretty solid. Only really for like high effectiveness Zeos though, so do keep that in mind. And then we also have Crown of Glory. I put this here instead of the Don't, because with ML Arunca coming out relatively soon, because she basically stealths the entire team as long as she's on the field, like you can only attack her. If you're going for AoEs to attack the ML Arunca's teammates and she's running Crown of Glory, could be good. Actually, yeah, she is a knight, right? I'm pretty sure she's a knight. She could be running Crown of Glory. So yeah, she can just be tanking so much damage, reducing damage for the team as well. Could be good. I don't know how good it would be. Could be good though. We'll see. Right, next up we have Snow Crystal. Allows you to get up some more anti-crit shenanigans, right? Same with Rui Jinkupang right here. So both of these are pretty decent. Snow Crystal does give you combat readiness, whereas Wukong's artifact over here will actually allow you to have, I believe it's just more crit resist and crit rate. That's right, you get a flat crit rate from this as well, so pretty decent, right? If you're kind of strapped for crit. This is kind of in the same realm of like Manic Control, Black Hand the Goddess, and Alensinox's Wrath, so it's in that camp. And then next up we have Spirit's Breath. Spirit's Breath is pretty good for, oh sorry, this is the one that's super strong for Angel of Light Angelica. Etika Scepter's okay, but I mean, Spirit's Breath is insane. So it reduces the cooldown by 1 turn if this is plus 30, reduces cooldowns by 1 turn if you use a non-attack skill. Aola has 2 non-attack skills, one in her has 3 and one in her passive, so she is actually going to be doing really well with this right here. Next up, Scroll of Shadows. Good for Arya, and Arya is pretty decent right now in the meta, countering A-Raz and Tori and the general plethora of fire units that are running amok everywhere. But yeah, Scroll of Shadows, not bad. If you don't have this, but you do have something like Fairy Tale for a Nightmare, which is right here, that is Fairy Tale Tenebria's artifact, also really good. So yeah, if you don't have Scroll of the Shadows like me, use Fairy Tale. Good replacement. Alright, and yeah, so last but not least we have Indestructible Gators. So the reason why I put this here is because it's a burn artifact, and currently burns are really decent in RTA right now, so this might be another one to test with like Crown of Glory. These two are like testing artifacts here. If Indestructible Gators could be good, then it might have some application. If not, rest in peace, then just don't, right? But we'll need more information about these two right here. For now, you can safely just kind of put them down here for don't until we see any results with them, right? There's no reason to pick this artifact before people get testing in. Okay, so now let's go to the just don't category with 2 newly dropped artifacts in here because they're in for testing. Samsara Prayer Beads. Yeah, not really great. There's better damage options out there, honestly, especially for warriors. Just get Sigurd's Scythe. It is basically a better Samsara Prayer Beads. Air-to-surface missile Misha. Misha is fine as a damage-dealing artifact, gives you extra hit chance, but you don't get the plus 20 hit chance unless you get plus 30, and at that rate you can just run Symbol of Unity, which gives you extra damage on your attacks and gives you the plus 20 hit chance without having a plus 30 Amisha, right? So that's why it's down there. Wings of Light and Shadow, also down here. Most knights that deal damage don't really run crit damage. I know there's like Empyrean Ilanav and stuff, but there are better artifacts to use on her, for example, like Bastion of Perlucia, or even something like Rise of Monarch. So yeah, Wings of Light and Shadow, just dealing extra damage on knights feels bad. Most knights that deal damage like Krauls and friends like that don't crit anyway, so you don't really need this. Border Coin, not great. Getting attack and speed from using non-attack skills doesn't really seem to synergize well with each other. You're either wanting the speed or you're wanting the attack for damage. Damage dealers and fast debuffers and stuff, they don't really ever have too much overlap on that Venn diagram there. So Border Coin, just skip that for now. Circus Fantasia as well, good effectiveness actually, kind of good for maybe Judge Kisei, but Judge Kisei, even after all those buffs, has not really done anything in the meta, so rest in peace. Next up, Cradle of Life. Good debuffing artifact for, not Rift, Guild Ancient Inheritance for warriors and such, but it's kind of fallen off. Ever since Ancient Inheritance got that rework, it's kind of not even that good there anymore either. Creation and Destruction, a meme artifact. Don't really use this if you're trying to be serious about the game. It's really fun though, super fun artifact. I use it on my Lionheart Sirmia all the time, but yeah, if you're serious about the game, maybe don't do that. Crimson Moon of Nightmares for Tenebria, not good at all. Way better options out there than this. Dignus Orb, it used to be used on like Tomoka and such, but she got a rework, so Tomoka's now really good, and just use Black Hand the Goddess to make her as fast as possible. Dux Noctis, Pavel's artifact. No one uses it, not even Pavel. And Feat of Criticism, it's not great. Tori can honestly use things like, I don't know, Windrider really well. She can also use RNL really well. Any other thing up here, like, pretty decent. Feat of Criticism, just not the greatest. You start with a barrier in the match, sure, but you can also just bring a knight with her, which you probably should, a Raz, and have them run Bastion of Perlucia so that you don't need this, right? Glowings, you get a barrier if you use a non-attack skill on a ranger, or in PvP you can stealth your highest attack unit. So yeah, don't get glowings. Goblet of Oath used to be used on Para, but Para's kind of fallen out of the meta. There's also better things to use on Para, like, I don't know, RNL. So yeah, maybe say no to Goblet of Oath for now. Iron Fan has pretty much never been good, unfortunately. You can make it work. I make it work in some PvE content, but yeah, unfortunately not great. Justice for All, also not great. It's a buffing artifact. It's just not doing its job for knights. Having to get a buff after you take your turn is just what kind of kills it. Knowledge Seed, you need a plus 30 this artifact, but you only get benefits from this artifact if the wearer dies, and it has to be a mage. So yeah, it's canon for Politis, I guess, in the story, but maybe not for actual practical uses. And it's an RNG effect, by the way. The buff that you get on your team when this when your unit dies is complete RNG. Last tea time is not good. Don't use that. There's better options out there for damage and for resetting. Etika Scepter is better for resetting. Noble Oath, also don't go for that because there's way better options out there in terms of just keeping your knight alive. You can honestly, if you just want to use Noble Oath, if you want the resistance, go for Bastion of Hope. If you want the damage reduction, go for Proof of Valor, right? This will increase your defense and resistance as you get lower on HP, but yeah, maybe in this current Frenzy mechanic where you get 500 extra defense for free, it's okay, but in most cases your knights want to either help mitigate damage or they're dealing damage. So this, yeah, not the best. Purite Trust, kind of similar to Justice for All, just not the best buffing artifact out there. Sphere of Inferno, Bihu's artifact. Bihu actually uses this limited event artifact actually better. There is a artifact that allows him to inflict burns. So yeah, it's one of those story related things that, here it is, Seal of Capture, that's what it was. Seal of Capture from a side story is way better than Spear of Inferno, so do get you that if you're interested in using Bihu. Spear of Sadism for Yolha, typically Yolha wants Aureus to absorb damage instead of dealing extra damage when she has a barrier, so that's not a great effect. Sword of Autumn Eclipse, we don't talk about that. Why is everything that has a sword in its name terrible? Sword of Judgment's also really bad too. There's way better options for rangers like Guiding Light. Time Matter, not great for mages. Definitely use other mage artifacts up here, so much better. Abyssal Crown. Book, Tagehel's Ancient Book. If you're not using, honestly, if you're not using Abyssal Crown as a mage, you're probably using Tagehel's Ancient Book, right? And if you're not using Book, you're using Etika Scepter or Spirit's Breath for reducing your cooldowns to turn cycle. That's pretty much it. Twilight Calamity, it's a mage artifact. We just talked about the only 3 relevant ones. Tyrant's Descent, Kane's artifact. Kane's also kind of garbage, so unfortunately his artifact is too. Umbral Keystones, Fumir isn't really used, and so yeah, Umbral Keystone's also not great, not as applicable as we wish it could be. Violet Talisman, really slow ramping up on the evasion aspect of things. You could get away with this maybe with like a Remnant Violet that's really fast and used with like ML Para, but even then in most cases people just go for Shepherd of the Hollow. It's so much more consistent. And then last but not least, Ron's artifact is the Sword of Winter Shadow. Yeah, can you believe it? Ron's artifact is not RNL. So yeah, Sword of Winter Shadow, pretty mediocre. No one really uses it. You have to have like plus 30 to even have 100% chance to strip the souls from your opponent. And why strip souls from your opponent when you could just kill your opponent if you're using Ron? So yeah. That is it, guys. That is the 5-star artifact selector tier list. Here is the final look at all the rankings. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the placements that are here? And if you decided to pick an artifact from the selector, what did you end up going for and why? With that being said though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.